We live? All right. Sorry, guys, for getting ready a little late. Right as I was about to go live, my dog had some issues to get taken care of. But nonetheless, here we are. All right. It's the ARCA Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Evans, a.k.a. Starting Parker here. And we have a doubleheader today. We are talking about the main division, and we are back with my personal favorite ARCA series, the West Division. They returned this weekend in Portland, so I am happy to be back. I am so happy to be back. Again, guys, sorry for the delay. But yeah, doubleheader show. Welcome to the show. Colby Evans, Starting Parker here. Like I said, main series at Charlotte, West series at Portland. It's going to be a fun show for you guys today. We'll let a few more people file in here as we get the show going. Lots of news today in the NASCAR world. I almost wonder if I should pick a different day to do the ARCA show, considering just how much news has been in the NASCAR world. Obviously, even though it's not ARCA related, we are losing Stewart-Haas Racing at the end of the year. So lots of news today in the NASCAR world, but we're here to talk about ARCA. So that's why you're all here. So anyway, guys, you guys know the drill with my usual intro. Go follow me on social media at Starting Park Car on Twitter for all news, notes, and tweets and all that crap for some reason you guys seem to enjoy. Like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for all notifications so you guys never miss a podcast when I go live. Super chats are open. If you'd like to support the show financially, it would be much appreciated. You don't have to, but if you want to send a super chat, you're always more than welcome to. And of course, check out the Racing Experts for all NASCAR meter related content. Whew. All right, let's finally get into this, shall we? So Charlotte Motor Speedway, one of my personal favorite 1.5 milers on the schedule. Probably put Kansas ahead, just about a little bit of biasy because it is my home. 1.5 mile track's only 3 hours away from my house. So, but Charlotte's a fun track nonetheless. Very challenging track. Turns 1 and 2 are completely different from 3 and 4. You can run any line you want. You can run low in 1 and 2 and high in 3 and 4. It's a very fun driver's track. A lot of drivers say that it's one of their favorite tracks on the circuit just because of how, number one, how fast it is and how versatile it is, and how you can adapt to a different setup. It's just a fun track. It's a driver's racetrack, and I don't think you've heard really any driver say that they did not like Charlotte Motor Speedway. The ARCA races, ARCA was there up until 2004. Then they took a break. They returned in 2018, and kind of steadily the car counts had been going down. Thankfully, in the last couple of years, the car counts had been going up, and I was proud to see that we had 31 cars on the original entry list. Now, I know you say 31. We actually had 30 on the show up. Turns out we actually had almost 32 cars on the initial entry list. The 36 of Ryan Huff, and the 87. We did not report this on the initial entry list. They must have withdrawn before the entry list was to public, but apparently on the entry list that was officially sent out by ARCA, not on the website, but by somewhere else, the entry list actually had listed 32 cars. And on there was the 36 of Ryan Huff and the 87 of Chuck Buchanan Jr. And they withdrew from the race, which still left us with a very solid 30 cars. But think about that for a second. Think about that. We were so close to having 32 ARCA cars at Charlotte. And wow, does that spell recipe for disaster? Or does that spell extreme entertainment? I don't know. Could go both ways. But yeah, still a very solid field nonetheless. We also had a last-minute entry from Rayom's team. They were a late add with Lawless Allen. Really do think Rayom could build something with that ARCA program. We did have a couple of oddball entries for this race. We had the 2 cars from the Brian Dowsett team, which I kind of figured they would show up. We had Tim Richmond show up, AJ Moyer. Let's see here. We had the 97 of Kitzmiller come back. We had a 3rd Rev entry with Sebastian Arias. And we had Will Kimmel back. And as far as we know right now, the 2nd and final appearance for the season for the 82 car of Carson Quapple in the 2nd Pinnacle entry. So definitely had a couple of oddball entries here. I think I remember on last week's show we had picked LeVar Scott, and he was definitely a factor before a stupid penalty almost ruined that. But yeah, very solid entry list, very good field of cars. Like I said, I was really excited for this race. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to pull up something on my phone while I'm doing this live. This is my note. Well, I use my phone for my notes, and I put my phone right here so I can make sure I'm on point with what I need to be talking about. But yeah, so unfortunately, though, even though we had 30 cars, we would actually lose one in practice. Unfortunately, the 93 of Caleb Costner. The 93 of Caleb Costner wasn't exactly clear what happened to him. I just saw a couple of tweets that he had really done some damage to the front of his car. Like, it was a severe impact to the front of his car. And that it was a brand new motor. Apparently, it was a brand new Ilmor motor, which sucks. That's not cheap. Well over $50,000 are those motors. That is not cheap for his organization, which is now part-time. They are now just a part-time organization. They are apparently, I guess, the Weaver portion wasn't fulfilling their obligations. So, unfortunately, Costner's kind of on his own in a way. So that sucked for Caleb, and it sucked to lose a full race car. You know, Caleb wasn't going to win the race, obviously, but he would have been another competitive body out there on track, like a good mid-pack car, like what, 10th to 15th place car probably, maybe 7th, 8th at the best. And, you know, anytime you lose a car like that, it hurts. It hurts because, you know, yeah, we have our competitive cars in the series and we have our back markers, but it's that mid-pack. It's that midfield of bodies that I feel like sometimes can hurt these ARCA races. And we need more cars like that. Unfortunately, just like I said, it costs a lot. But so we lost that one in practice. Other than that, no real issues. It did become clear, though, that, you know, this was not going to be a washout for the 18 and the 20. Venturini in practice and both qualifying. Of course, they were fast. I mean, duh, but it's not like a Venturini car isn't going to be fast. But kind of weird to see that Amber Balkan, yes, Amber Balkan was actually the fastest Venturini car in practice. Would not have called that. My pick, LeVar Scott, was second in practice. But yeah, I would never have called that Amber Balkan would actually be the fastest Venturini car in practice. Come qualifying, we, in my opinion, had a shock. I wonder if it's like the first pole since, what, Daytona? I don't even know if we had a Chevy. No, I don't. Who was on the pole for Daytona again? I don't even remember. But Andres Perez de Lara won the pole for Rev Racing. I remember the last time Rev Racing won a pole. So good for them. Good for Andres. Gus Dean was second. Gray was third. Chris Wright was fourth. Carson Quapo was fifth. 27 of the 29 cars took a time. I did want to mention, though, real quick, Brad Smith. Boy, this guy has just had no luck. Poor Brad's had no luck this year. And he had a very, very wild travel story. So Friday morning, my phone is blowing up. Okay. My phone is absolutely blown up, and it's like, it's Brad. What does he need at, 5, 6 in the morning? And his car apparently had come out of the trailer. Now, he's pretty close to Charlotte. Like, this didn't happen like in some rando town on some random highway. This happened not far from the track. But his car literally came undone, and in a full Lightning McQueen moment, very similar to what happened in the movie Cars, the car just rolls out of the trailer and just starts rolling right down the highway. Thankfully, it comes to a stop, doesn't hit a barricade or, who knows what would have happened to it. Brad stops farther down, goes back to the car, and with help from the local police, Brad actually drives the car all the way back down the highway, up into his trailer, and he continues to Charlotte with virtually no damage whatsoever. If that's not the most redneck thing and the most ARCA thing to happen, I don't know what else is. I love that. I'm also grateful that nothing happened to that car because that's Brad's only car right now. His super speedway car is still the engine still being rebuilt. And the Chevy car is a bare chassis right now. That car's not coming back for a long time. So Brad could not afford to lose this car. And it's just like, God, can Brad afford to buy any luck this year? But yeah, I thought that was absolutely hilarious. That's the most ARCA thing for me that can happen is the car comes out of the trailer, full Lightning McQueen style from the movie Cars, and Brad just drives it right back, right down the highway in a race car. Imagine being a random commuter. You have no idea what racing is, and you just see a red 40 car on the highway. It's like, that's great. I love racing, man. So we get to the race, obviously before the truck race. So it ran very early. So a lot of you guys, I'll be curious to see the ratings. I couldn't find the ratings for this race, but with how early they ran it, wasn't really sure. But they got the race going. Andres got the pole, of course, so he led the field to the green flag. He was able to lead the first couple laps. Got going on the initial start, got a great jump, like a really, really good jump on the 55 of Gus Dean. 18 was shoving the crap out of him. We only got a couple of laps in, though, however, until our first couple of accidents. Poor Jason Alexander, the terrible, no good, very bad day. Very bad race, I should say. I mean, it's not like practice and qualifying went bad for him, but yeah, poor Jason. He spun on lap 2, and then he spun again on lap 20, and this time did damage to the tire. Pretty significant damage to, I believe it was the right front of the car. It was just your classic case where the tire was down, and while trying to limp it back, the tire exploded. A tire exploded, which caused massive damage to the car. And he would have to retire. One other thing I wanted to bring up was the 69 of Will Kimmel. Now, you guys know Will Kimmel. We all love Will Kimmel in this chat. He drove the 69, of course, and he did not have an Ilmor. He had what we call a D3 Legacy Ford motor. And now, obviously, these legacy motors do have a slight horsepower penalty. Sometimes it can be up to 100 horsepower in terms of what the Ilmors can do, because ARCA's, main engine supplier, they want it to be Ilmor, obviously. And then the K&N motors, they don't get a horsepower penalty, but they're not made for big tracks. And Will runs this motor at Salem. This was the exact same car that he almost won at Salem with last year before mechanical issues took him off. So really ballsy to bring a non-Ilmor car to a big track. Normally that's a death sentence, but apparently with Will, with the right gearing, and it's a fresh motor. It's not like this motor has a ton of miles on it. They freshen it up. It's a fast motor, and it didn't slow down Will at all. You could definitely tell, though, that it did hold him back just slightly, just ever so slightly. You could tell that the Ilmors had a slight advantage on him. But, man, Will was holding his own. And apparently it was not X-pipes, but that glorious sound coming out of Will's exhaust that reminded me of the old Busch cars, the old Cup cars, just the glorious sound of what pretty much resembled X-pipes was coming out of the 69. Just lovely. You could not see that 69 of Will Kimmel. So really impressive that he had the cool sounding pipes and was running a non-Ilmor motor and was still able to hang with the leaders. That's not easy to do. And I think that was a real testament to the, number one, the caliber of car that they can build at Kimmel Racing, and Will Kimmel himself, who does not do many intermediate appearances. He was supposed to do Kansas, which really makes me wonder how this car would have done there. Had the car not come apart in the trailer. But yeah, just a glorious car. I wish all race cars sounded like that, man. Imagine if all cars sounded like Will's did, this ARCA would be in a better spot. So we get going again. By this point, Tanner Gray had taken the lead. However, it would not be the domination for the 18 car like we all predicted. He did eventually lose the lead on that second restart from the Jason Alexander incidents, and Carson Quaffle in the second Pinnacle car, who he really raced him hard. The one thing I loved about these ARCA cars, man, they really race well. When you can get enough competitive ones out there, they really race well on the 1.5 mile tracks. And the 82, man, that sucker was stuck. That 82, just like Doberman, that car was so stuck into the track. and he took the lead, and literally virtually right after, we suddenly see the 18 on pit road. And it was kind of wondering how quickly that Connor, not Connor, I don't know why I got Connor from, Carson had taken the lead. And then we found out 5 laps later on lap 34, the 18 of Tanner Gray had a flat right rear tire. He had a right rear tire that was going down, and that's what was costing him so much time. Eventually went down, didn't explode, but it was costing him so much time. And so they had to come down pit road. They lost a lap. Obviously, they had a pretty decent pit crew, but they still lost a lap. Unfortunately, though, Carson out there was setting such a torrid pace. He was continuing to catch cars. So even at the lap 50 scheduled caution break, he was not allowed to get the free pass. I was shocked he didn't take the wave around, but I guess they wanted the fresh tires. You know, they didn't want him to be on a several deficit of tires, because at that point, I think Connor, I don't know why I keep saying Connor Mossack. I don't know why I'm so used to Connor Mossack being the 18. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I don't know why they would have left him out there on old tires. So it does kind of make sense. It does kind of make sense in a way. By the way, speaking of Connor Mossack, the race just went terrible for him. I don't know what happened. Same for Christian Rose. Apparently, Christian Rose, he got into the wall or something happened to him 28 laps in. He was out with suspension issues. And Connor Mossack was in and out of the garage like 3 times with brake issues. So for one Pinnacle Racing Group car, it went great. And for the other one, it sucked. And then, yeah, we lost Christian Rose. And that was really not a finish that he needed in terms of the points championship. Brad ran out there for 36 laps before he finally pulled off. I'm not sure. He said it was just handling issues, but he might have gotten the black flag, I think. I do believe. I think he did get the black flag because his lap times were pretty far off. He was almost into the 40-second brackets. And then Alex Clubb, he was in and out of the garage as well. So that kind of left us with 24 main full race cars that were still on track. Obviously, the 03 and the 48 would want to run the whole race, but mechanical issues prevented that. So, and noted, you really haven't heard me talk much about the Venturini cars during this first run, because realistically, the only Venturini cars that really showed winning speed was actually the 15. We have to give people their flowers at some point. I have said a lot of things about Chris Wright on this show. Chris Wright has me blocked on Twitter, which I find funny. Some of it's warranted. Some of it may not be warranted. Maybe I'm being a little too hard on him. I will give him his flowers. He ran in second place, didn't crash, didn't race like an idiot, and he was doing just fine. He did a great job. Unfortunately, something must have went wrong under this lap 50 break, because it resulted in him going a lap down. He actually lost a lap during this caution period. He lost a lap during this caution period. Not really sure what happened. All of a sudden, we just come back and the 15's a lap down. And yeah, it was weird, man. It was just weird. But, and the sad part is that would they be able to get the free pass? And unfortunately, they wouldn't. Did want to shout out though, man, Cody Dennison in the 10. He, whether you like him or you don't, he really is doing a hell of a job out there. He didn't go a lap down the entire race with all the cautions and stuff. He did not go a lap down the entire race. Did a great job. Unfortunately, as we went back to green, my pick for the race, LeVar Scott, he suffered a restart violation penalty, which didn't really make sense to me because, okay, I guess he beat the leader to the restart line, but he still ended up losing spots. But unfortunately, LeVar had to come to pit road. He would lose a lap. So that sucked because that was my race pick. That was literally my pick to win the race, was LeVar. And he showed great speed. I was curious to see what LeVar could have done. But yeah, and then literally as LeVar was, getting his stuff figured out, we had another yellow. For debris, so that was a break for LeVar. I don't know if he did go a lap down, actually. He might have, because of the yellow, might have been saved by that. But what that yellow did give us was the 18 of Connor. I keep calling him Connor. Dang it. I'm so used to Connor Mossack in the 18. from last year. Okay, I sorry. Live podcasting, folks. Tanner Gray and the 18 would get the free pass. So that meant even with 32 laps to go, the 18 would have plenty of time to get back to the front. And he did. And this 18-lap run, he was hauling ass. And I mean, he was hauling ass. This car was hooked up. Unfortunately, on this restart, we had the exact same thing happen to Andy Jankowiak that happened to LeVar Scott. And I'm telling you, this was by millimeters, where Andy J beat the 82 to the restart line. And Andy J ended up with a worse restart. He restarted second, and by the end of the lap, he was like fourth. So I felt bad for Andy J there. I'm like, oh, come on. You know, even if he beats him to the restart line by just a couple of inches, does it really matter? At the end of the day, does it really matter? He didn't jump the start. You know, got to work on that rule, because I feel like both the 6 car and the 73 kind of got screwed there, in my opinion. So we were having a really good battle. I mean, the 18, like I said, he was just absolutely hauling ass. He was catching the 2 and the 82 like crazy. He was going to get him. He was going to pass him. There was no doubt. Until we unfortunately had a crash with 15 laps to go. Reports were that the 22 of Amber Balkan was pushing the 06 pretty much all the way through turns 3 and 4. Not really sure why. And then she just eventually turned him around. Con Nikolopoulos was in the 06 this week. Con turned it around in turn 4. Looked to have it saved. Unfortunately, Mitch Gibson, with nowhere to go, piles into the back of him. So 2 underfunded cars who really could not afford a crashed car, both with heavy damage. The 31 with the worst of it. Pretty heavy damage to the front. Lots of cosmetic damage, interior damage. As for the 06, definitely more repairable, but still lots of damage to new rear panels, new rear bracing, lots of work to be done on that car as well. So it sucks for Peterson, man. Sucks for Rise, man. 2 teams that really can't afford that at the moment, especially when we're kind of midway through the year. I did kind of create a fun restart, though. A couple of cars came down. The 82 came down. Checking in my notes, the 82 came down pit road for tires. The 2 came down for pit road for tires. A lot of cars actually came down pit road for tires, which left Tanner Gray. He stayed out. Jason Kitzmiller was second, and Cody Dennison was third. Cody's got balls, man, to restart third in an Andy Hillenberg car, but that car was fast. But anyway, we get to that last restart. Cody, I'm just glad he didn't get wrecked, but he got freight trained. Jason got freight trained. The 18, he probably would have gotten freight trained too, but he got a good restart. He got that clean air. And even though the 2 car and the 82, man, the 82 took the lead, I thought Carson was going to get him on the fresh tires. But at the end of the day, you know, that precious clean air, man, that precious clean air can really, really make a difference. And it did. It did. Despite the 82, man, he ran his tires. I think the 82 probably ran his tires off too much. He burned them up way too quickly, in my opinion. He burned them up too fast. Didn't have time to cool them back off to try to make another run. And the 18 of Tanner Gray, hard to believe. It's kind of hard to believe to say this. He finally wins something. I mean, you know, we heard all the success that Taylor has had, all the wins in ARCA East and the main division that Taylor has. And yeah, and then there's Tanner, who really hasn't won much of anything in NASCAR. He's got a couple of East and West wins from the Can-Am days, but you know, those were years ago. It's kind of hard to believe he has not won something in so long, when, you know, a lot of people thought he was going to be, you know, one of the next big things in the truck series. But yeah, he wins. He wins the race in the 18. Carson Kvapil with another impressive finish. I mean, this guy is so talented. He was second. Andres Perez de Lara, great points finish for him. He ends up third. Will Kimmel, man, like I said, in the D3 Ford motor, non-Ilmor, gets top 5, man. That's pretty cool. That is absolutely cool for Will Kimmel to get a top 5 finish. LeVar Scott 5th. So think about this. It is the home race for Venerini. You know, their base is in Charlotte, North Carolina, and no Venerini cars in the top 5. No Venerini cars led a lap. That is a very, very weird statistic right there. And one thing I honestly did not expect to see. If you would have told me that no Venerini cars were going to lead a lap and no Venerini cars were even going to be in the top 5, I don't know if I would have believed you there. Definitely a very weird finishing order for no Venerini cars to be in the top 5. The highest finishing one was Gus Dean in 6th, then you had Dean Thompson in 7th. Lawless Allen, another great finish for him. He was 8th. Jason Kitzmiller 9th. And Sebastian Arias was 10th. Greg Van Alst ended up 11th. Tony Breidinger 12th. Cody Dennison actually got a lead lap finish for Andy Hillenberg, so that was pretty cool. And 13th. And Andy J only recovered to 14th. Amber Balkin 15th. Ryan Roulette 16th. Tim Richmond 17th. Chris Wright, for some reason, fell 3 laps down. Don't quite know what happened there, but he was 18th. AJ Moyer, who had a huge save during the race. Shout out to him. He got the Reese's sweet move of the race. 19th. Michael Maples 20th. Austin McDaniel 21st. Con Nicolopoulos, despite the damage to the rear of the car, did finish the race, albeit 11 laps down. He did finish in 22nd. Hunter Deschantel in 23rd. And then you have the DNFs, Mitch Gibson in 24th. Alex Clubb 25th. Brad Smith 26th. Connor Mosek 27th. Christian Rose 28th. Jason Alexander 29th. And because he did complete a practice lap, Caleb Costner was listed on the starting sheet, just listed as a did not start in 30th. So I definitely thought it was a good race. Probably better than the last couple years at Charlotte, just because, you know, you have more competitors other than, you know, the Venerinis and the Gibbs cars. Obviously, it's just hard to beat the Gibbs car at a track where they have so much experience at, where you know they're going to nail the setup at it. It's hard to beat Gibbs at a track like this. But, man, Andres really brought it. And, you know, one of the questions that we were really talking about this year was, would we see a main full-time ARCA driver win a race? Or was it just going to be like, you know, William Sawalich, who's part-time, or, you know, Tanner Gray, who's part-time, or, you know, Carson Quapple, you know, or, you know, Connor Zilich, you know, these part-time guys who run in the main division sometimes, are they just going to win them all? And I think Andres Perez de Lara, and throw in LeVar Scott too, definitely throw him in. They definitely got chances. Now, we know Rev's short track program in the ARC series, which is weird because that you think that'd be their specialty. It's actually their big track program, I would say, is where Rev is really a lot better than their short track program. But I think they'll get a win this year. Christian Rose, they've also stepped it up. The AM Racing team has also stepped it up this year compared to last year. So I do think at least 1 or 2 wins this year will go to main full-time series guys, at least for the credibility of the championship. I hope so. But yeah, very strong showing for Andres Perez de Lara. Very strong showing for Carson Quapple. Again, as we know, this is the final appearance of the 82, but obviously that could change. You never know going down the line if they bring it out again. But as of right now, from what we know, this is the last appearance of the 82 car. As for Rayom, you know, Lawless Allen 8th. I love the ARCA program that Josh is building. I think it could work out great if they keep this up. Obviously, Lawless, I feel like, has made a big financial impact at that team for the better. And that's always a bonus. Greg Van Alst, man, you know, he just doesn't have the money to really compete with the top guys. He tries his best every week, and I'm glad he does. You know, he's a really good underdog to root for, but, man, you can tell it's just these big tracks, man, you know, he's a lot better on the short tracks because, you know, the margin is closer, and these big tracks, man, are where he struggles. So him getting these finishes as good as he is good. You know, is definitely good. But yeah, so the race was, I like I said, I thought it was good. I give it a solid probably 7.5 out of 10, to be honest with you. Probably my favorite moment of the race was seeing the side-by-side action between the 2 and the 18 and the oh God, what's the number? And the 82, just the side by side, man, where you can really see the Cup cars, and they race kind of like the Xfinity cars, just how like hard, man, that they drive these cars into the corner and how loose they are, but it sticks. And man, there's nothing more satisfying watching and you see those cars stick to the racetrack and then get through those corners, man. It's like, they wonder why there's some people who do love still running ARCA, because you can really, test the waters with different setups, even compared to what Xfinity and Truck are allowed to run nowadays. But yeah, it was definitely fun. In terms of the point standings coming out of this race, obviously, like I said, Andres Perez de Lara, this was even though he didn't win, definitely a win for him in terms of the points. I'm not sure if they did update the point standings yet. No, it doesn't look like they did. Crap, I hate Racing Reference. So we'll have to do some math right now. So the old points had Andres Perez de Lara ahead of Greg Van Alst by 6 points. So we're going to have to do some math here because Racing Reference doesn't update their points, and it's frustrating. So Andres Perez de Lara had 230 points coming into this race. He goes out with 273 points. Greg Van Alst coming into this race had 224 points. Coming out of this race, he's got 224, 257. So what is that, 16 points? So about 16-point gap for Greg Van Alst back to Andres Perez de Lara. And in the main ARCA divisions, that's a pretty healthy gap. In terms of the other drivers, Amber Balkan is now more than 20 back. Christian Rose, this was a huge loss for him. I don't want to say it might have ended his championship hopes, but Christian Rose is now more than 40 points behind. Andres Perez de Lara. So I don't want to say it, but I almost would say, if not close, that Christian Rose is kind of mathematically eliminated from the championship, because it's just so hard to gain points in this series, especially when the car counts are so low at some tracks, and with how tightly they run close to each other every week. Where even if the 32 finishes ahead of the 2 some races, well, the 2 only might be 3 or 4 points behind him, and you're just not going to gain that up in only a 20 race season. Same for drivers such as Chris Wright, same with Chris Wright and LeVar Scott. I think they're just too far behind. They're still just too far behind. We'll see what the championship looks like. I think if looking at the point standings, LeVar, he will close in on Chris Wright and Christian Rose and Amber Balkan in the points. But yeah, right now, Andres Perez de Lara is putting together a good string of runs right now for the championship, and that's exactly what he needs to do. So as for the owner standings right now, I believe the Billy Venturini 20 car is still leading. The Billy Venturini car still leads the owner's points right now. So for at least Venturini, they might not be winning the driver's championship right now, but more importantly to them is that owner's championship. And right now they are leading that by a pretty healthy margin. Still over 15 points there. So that was the main series at Charlotte. Like I said, hopefully Peterson can get that car fixed, because there's something at Iowa that I would love to do, and there's your little teaser there. So hopefully we can get something like that done. Just pray that 06 gets fixed, man. I would love to do that. But yeah, now we transition over to the West Series. Again, my personal, you could say I'm a little biased by that, but my personal favorite of the ARCA Racing Series is the West Division. Just because, the main series is good too, I'm not going to lie, but I just feel like the West Series in terms has a closer field and most of the time has some better races. We got 24 cars for this weekend's race at Portland. Yes, all the way up there in Portland with the Xfinity Series. One of 2 races for them there. Solid entry list size. Last year's race had 13, so definitely a step up from 13 to all the way to 24. Go down the entry list as follows. We start up with the 0 of Tony Huffman, the second Bobby Hillis entry. Expect that to be a start in park. Robbie Keenely in the 1, Todd Souza in the 3. Sean Hingorani moves over to his third different ride of the year. Was with the 61 team before moving to the 23 team of Joe Ferree, and is now with the Pitts team. Caleb Schrader in a third Jerry Pitts entry in the 6. Takuma Koga in the 7. Kyle Keller in the 12. Tyler Reif in the 13. Jake Finch, Venerini making the trip all the way out there. Venerini, they're running the 15 for Jake Finch. This, of course, the 16 of Jack Wood, the 17 of Marco Andretti, William Sawalich. So you also got the 18 Gibbs car going all the way out there to Portland. The 19 of Eric Johnson Jr., the 20 of Gio Ruggiero, the 23 of Jake Walker, 27 of Bobby Hillis Jr., the 32 of Dale Quarterly. Always good seeing Dale out there. We got the lone Xfinity driver in the field, the 42 of Brandon Jones, the 50 of Trevor Huddleston, Isabella Robusto. Good to see her back in the 55. Nick Jonides in the 71, or Nick Jonides, I should say, sorry. 77 of Dave Smith. Kind of weird. We have a Dave Smith and a David Smith. I didn't say that incorrectly. Tanner Reif is in the 88, by the way. But the 77 will be Dave Smith, and the 05 will be David Smith. So don't get that confused. 2 Dave Smiths in the field. Gotta love it. But yeah, pretty healthy entry list size. Portland is obviously a road course in Oregon. The ARCA West Series has been going there for years. Always a fun track. I wish the Truck Series would go back there. It was always so cool when they ran there in the late 90s, early 2000s. But the Xfinity Series goes there now. It's going to be a fun weekend up there for them. Like I said, a doubleheader for them. The Xfinity Series goes to Portland and then Sonoma, and so does ARCA. ARCA will go to the Sonoma Xfinity weekend as well. So, like I said, a huge, and I mean a huge step up from last year's race. I do believe this race last year only had 13 cars. That might have been 20. Was that 2022 or is that last year? Let me check. I think last year's race only had 13. Or that might have been 2022. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get this right. Let's see here. 2023. 2023. Actually, that might have been 2022. Sorry about that. I just remember that one year where we got an embarrassingly small field for that road course race. Yeah, last year we got 24 as well. Okay, good. I thought last year we had that small field, but no. So this is same amount of cars we had last year, except 2 cars actually didn't start the race last year, so we're already ahead of that. But yeah, Landon Lewis, what happened to Landon Lewis? Speaking of that, what the heck happened to Landon Lewis? He split from the 17 team, made a couple of starts in the 97 car, and has not been seen at all this year. So I don't know what happened with Landon Lewis, man. He seemed to be one of those up-and-comers, and we don't see him at all now. So hopefully everything's okay there. We did have a couple of Xfinity guys in the field last year. We had Cole Custer in the field. We had Brandon. I think we had Brandon Jones. No, we didn't. We had Riley Herbst. You had Dylan Lupton. He was doing both. I think that was it. Yeah, that was it. Oh, and Parker Retzlaff. That's right. But yeah, last year's race was fun. Only 14 of the 24 finished that race, so I'm sure it'll be just as entertaining this year. It's kind of weird seeing only one Xfinity driver in the field. I figured this race would be littered with them, considering the Xfinity Series only gets a whopping 20 minutes of practice. But yeah, no, guys, it should be a fun weekend. Obviously, I'm sure you guys are used to the West Series having some of the lowest payouts, and it sucks because the amount of effort that these guys put in, for a track like Portland, they really do deserve more than just a measly $1,000. But it'll be live on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. 57 laps, 112 miles. First place is $5,000. Last place, 24th, pays just $1,000. $13,000 for first, $56.25 for second, and $3,700 for third. Like I said, on Flow Racing, so the top 20 do get a Flow Racing bonus, $200 bonus from Flow Racing. So that's nice. Again, every little dollar helps. And right now, going into this race, the championship, God, I haven't looked at these point standings in a while, so this will be a new one for both of us. Sean Hingorani, despite being in his third different ride of the year right now, in his third different race, leads the points by 2 points over Tyler Reif, 9 points over Trevor Huddleston, 10 points over Jack Wood, and 16 points over Kyle Keller. So definitely an opportunity race for some of these guys to gain some points back. Sean Hingorani in the Jerry Pitts car. We know the Jerry Pitts car is good. We know the 13 car for Tyler Reif is really good as well. Really good as well. Real shame for Tyler Reif did not win that race at Kern County. Cole Raz won it. Cole not in the field. Obviously, main a short track guy not there. Good to see William Sawalich back. I do believe this race and Sonoma, just to get William some more road course experience. I don't believe he'll be doing any other West Series races than this. Maybe the season finale race at Phoenix. He might be doing that one. I don't know for sure because he might be in an Xfinity car for that one. I know he's going to be doing Xfinity races at the end of this year, and I'm not sure if he's going to be running in the 19 in that race. So they might have him do the Xfinity car, but if he's not in the Xfinity car, then I would expect him. Not to do that. Danica Dart obviously not entering the 11. She is not doing the road courses. Hard to believe that girl's only 16. I keep forgetting she's only 16. I'm used to women in motorsports, but I'm not used to them being that young. So yeah, she's not entered in this weekend for road courses, maybe for reasons that she hasn't been on one or they don't want to tear up a car. I don't know. But Danica Dart, she was supposed to be full-time. It's been a tough year for her so far. A lot of times she hasn't even gotten to start the race, engine failures. So hopefully she can get some momentum going when she gets back in the car. But yeah, the West Series is just so much fun. Like I said, my personal favorite series that runs in ARCA. If we had to give a pick for the race, especially if you look off last year's results. I mean, heck, you look at the top two last year, they weren't even in the field. Dale Quarterly finished third last year. I don't even know how. William Sawalich got a top 5 finish with half a car. I don't know. I'd probably, if I had to pick something, let's go with Dale Quarterly. Screw it. Let's just go with Dale Quarterly, man. Let's go with Dale Quarterly as my winner's pick. And I'll take my underdog pick. I'll take, tell you what, even though he's not really an underdog, it's kind of an underdog team. I'll go with Tanner Reif. They're not really an underdog or organization, but I'll pick them as my underdog pick. I'll pick Tanner Reif in the 88 as my underdog pick. So, yeah, like I said, guys, I think it's going to be a fun race. It's going to be a fun weekend. Couple of ARCA West action for a couple weeks. Obviously, we have them this weekend in Portland, and then the next weekend in Sonoma, and then the main series and E-Series combo race at Iowa in a couple weeks. So, yeah, lots of fun action coming up, and hopefully I'll have some good news for you guys for Iowa, because right now, guys, it's in jeopardy. I'm not sure if Iowa's going to happen, but we'll see. So, sorry, guys, tonight's podcast was a little clunky. You know, usually where I'm a little bit more pepped and on edge, but sometimes some podcasts go better than others. But I thank you all for still being here with me every week, man. We're here every week for the ARCA Racing podcast, no matter what. So thank you all for watching tonight. I will see you all next week. Next Tuesday, live at 7 p.m. for the ARCA Racing podcast Portland review and the Sonoma preview show. And yeah, hopefully next Tuesday I'll have some big news to share with you guys in terms of Iowa. So we'll catch you all there next week. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday night. I'll give you all the goodbye salute. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to go follow me on Twitter. And also, have a great Tuesday night. I've been Colby Evans, starting Park Car, signing off. Go on, guys.